is my guest.
Hello,
Mike.
hello.
How you doing? How's everything?
Well, this is Southern California, so there's a fire, somewhat locally. I think it's they're getting it under control. But as I mentioned on earlier shows, these fires are always very suspicious. You know,
In terms of
a lot of
arson,
arson
or
goes. Yeah,
I've heard that there's arson involved, and also the
oh yeah,
state hasn't done a great job of water management.
no, no.
Now, has anything been done since the big Palisades fire a few years ago? Has there been any rebuilding or?
Well, the it's happening very, very slowly,
Mm.
and the whole thing that's catalyzing the mayoral candidacy of Spencer Pratt is that he was burned out in
Yeah,
Palisades. And it's the nature of California politics that you could be the mayor of LA and have your city burned down, but that's okay because you're a black lesbian liberal or something, you know. But I mean,
that's
there
something
is
I
now a
don't think
lot of
she's pulling it
support.
off.
Yeah,
No, her numbers are in the tank. There's no real reason to vote for her.
no,
Um, and the same thing in Massachusetts, by the way. Governor Maura Healey, a white lesbian leftist, is declining in the polls. There's like there's nothing compelling anyone to actually vote for her. She's apparently spent billions of dollars giving it to illegal aliens so they can get, these food cards and housing. And meanwhile, I mean, they're doing everything they can to hide that fact. They can't hide the fact that there's that deficit, but the cause, and that businesses are up and leaving. Everyone's leaving the state.
well, explain this to me. I've always wondered about this. You know, you be a bleeding heart liberal, whatever, but I thought the idea is to get reelected. So how does that help your campaign with the average guy in Southie that you're giving all this money to illegals? How does that make him like you more?
I just think that it seems like, and again, this isn't for TikTok. I'm on TikTok right now, but it seems like once a liberal woman, especially with a lesbian as an extra box, gets in power, that you can never get rid of them. They're just going to be there. That's it. I mean, and they have the machinery of the election system. They've got the media. They've got all the institutional powers, and
Yeah.
they kind of run. And I think that Bass is doing the same thing. There's this kind of, they all create this aura of inevitability. People don't even think that anyone would even oppose them. It's like
Yeah,
it
yeah. It's
becomes,
this liberal fantasy, you know. You check off enough boxes and there you are. Right.
but they become almost ingrained. It's like people don't question it anymore. This is what you do. This is who we are now. There's no contest. They forget why they even support these people, other than, of course, the core hard left who is, witting and conscious. I mean, that's their core support. It's the same people who go out to the No Kings rally. But that's only about 30% of the electorate
Yeah.
at most. And that's
Well, and
mainly,
here's another point, and you may disagree with me on this, but you look at the Maura Healeys and the Mom Donnies and the Karen Basses, and the question comes up: why doesn't anybody at least complain about the notion of universal suffrage? I mean, obviously that's a bad idea.
well,
Okay.
that's kind of, it's sort of baked in at this point, in the same way that nobody questions the existence of the IRS.
Yeah.
You just it happened, and these things have been ingrained, and in a way that's what's happened here. This is entrenched, ingrained, almost invisible power. The media doesn't question them. I mean, I saw an interview with Karen Bass, where it was the usual softball kind of interviews,
Oh,
and Pratt
absolutely.
was up there yelling and saying, "Hey, what about the fact that my house is burned down? Are you going to ask her any hard questions?" No. So maybe, once in a while you get somebody who can step in like Pratt or like Trump, who could be a disruptor and who can actually, I mean, we'll see. It's actually
Well, I'll tell you
interesting.
what happened when the fires were raging. And again, I can speak somewhat objectively because I'm not really in the city. I'm in an exurb, let's say.
Hmm.
When the fires were raging, she was getting a lot of tough questions. And they were reaming her, to be honest.
Okay.
And she stood there like the proverbial deer in the headlights. I promise you, you can find the videos. Why the hell aren't you doing this? And what do you have to say about this? And she stood there speechless for like over a minute. So,
Well, she was out of the country, right? I mean, wasn't she getting some
well,
award in
when she
Ghana?
got back in, but I don't know. Maybe they have to do really, really, really bad before the paradigm changes. I don't know, but
And I think, meanwhile, Trump is fully aware of the, excuse me, TikTok, but I must say this, the possibility. Oops, I've already gotten a restriction. Let me just
but
shut
you didn't
that.
even say anything.
I didn't even say it, and they shut me down. um, that basically he's going full steam ahead with election integrity.
Yeah,
In 2024, the party is on board. The Republican National Committee, they under the leadership of Lara Trump and Watley, they fielded thousands of lawyers and election poll watchers and room counters, observers, and they were ready. And Trump won as a
yeah,
result. They
yeah.
couldn't steal it. And now you have this new guy there, according to the Gateway Pundit. He's already filed hundreds of lawsuits. This guy, Joe Gruters, he's the RNC chair. He just announced, and this is according to the Gateway Pundit, 130 lawsuits across 32 states to stop Democrat election shenanigans. So, they mean business. They're going to field the same thousands of people. They've got now the Supreme Court decision, which is allowing redistricting, in which case they're going to no longer have districts based on race, which is really a Democrat thing.
Well, the one in Louisiana was this was like the picture of gerrymandering. You had this long, narrow thing that goes across essentially the entire state.
It's like a thread.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the classic. That's where the word gerrymander came from in Massachusetts. I should note, Governor Elbridge Gerry. I think he was probably a liberal Democrat. This is during the Jefferson administration. He tried to he redistricted the state congressional districts, and one of the districts looked like a salamander. It was like a snake.
Yeah,
and some brilliant illustrator put it on the newspaper, giving it a tail and fins and Elbridge Gerry's head, and he called it a gerrymander. And so that kind of stuck. And the Democrats, of course, have been doing this forever. New England, also, there's not a single Republican in Congress, and yet Republicans are about 42% of the elected, of the registered voters, and that number is going up. And it's because
well,
it's
I mean, to be fair, the Democrats will counter by saying, look at a number of these southern states. And there are 30 to 40% Democrats in these states, and they have limited number of districts. So,
well, that's because the Republicans are finally learning how to do this.
yeah,
And they're screaming on top of their lungs about that. But it's at this point, this is how the game is played.
yeah.
And I think they learned that in 2024 as well, where the Republicans went out and they started to vote harvest because they saw that that's how the Democrats did it. They're still operating within the law, unlike the Democrats who actually went out and started vote harvesting, like in Fulton County, homeless people, and literally going on the street in I think it was in Wisconsin, They harvested nursing homes where you had people who weren't even necessarily conscious, and in some cases had passed away, who were harvested. Um, right?
Wait! Don't die yet. Don't just sign here.
Let's sign right here, and we'll take care of it. They had experts doing that. So I think that even though the Republicans didn't play hardball that to that degree, nevertheless, they have learned to go and harvest votes, knock on doors. They've already found some incredible things. We have people who answer the door. They've got a Trump hat on, they've got a Trump T-shirt, but they're not registered to vote. And even that sounds amazing. And there were people like Scott Pressler, who really played a role in the victory in Pennsylvania. Now he's in Arizona. You've got other people. The whole party is becoming aware of this. Where you have to go out and go door to door and really energize people who might not otherwise vote, and harvest those votes. They can't come to the polls, fine. Fill it out right here, and we'll take it to the clerk and register it for you. And it's aggressive, and they know how to play this game. Trump totally understands it, and it makes me feel optimistic about November. We'll see.
Oh, right. I mean, it's as the expression goes, it's not as much fun when the rabbit shoots back, right? So the Democrats don't know really how to handle it. They've been playing it this way for decades. And
they're very experienced. I mean, Joe Biden himself, in one of his few maybe lucid moments, or maybe it was just that dementia. Freudian slip. Dementia kind of lets things slip out. Said we've built the best and strongest voter fraud machine in history.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he said that on national TV. I'm not making that up. And so
and the other thing that's happening, that the Democrats can't get out of their own way in terms of these PC candidates. Okay. Now, Trump was aided by the fact that everybody hated Kamala Harris. Okay. Now, the question, I think, which we talked about at the time was, all right, why didn't they put up a good candidate? They didn't have one. They didn't have, I mean, you're going to say Josh Shapiro? Maybe. But
not really. They have a very shallow bullpen. Yeah. And I just think that there's rumblings that they're going to have a major setback in the fall. I think even Josh Shapiro has a substantial opponent, and that the Republicans in California, I think they're both number one and number two, aren't they?
Yes. Now the thing I've noticed is this sort of they can't help themselves thing, which is happening with the entertainment industry to a ridiculous extent. They have flop after flop after flop based on DEI, wokeisms, and so on. And they just can't get it their own way. I mean, the next one that you may have heard about is this production of The Odyssey from Christopher Nolan coming out in July.
Oh, yeah. What about that one?
Which does a race swap on Helen of Troy, making her black. Oh. Supposedly features Elliot Page as Achilles. Try to wrap your arms around that one.
Isn't that a trans woman?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's been savaged on every YouTube creator there is who studies the entertainment industry. And it goes even deeper than that. It's based on a translation by some lunatic female professor, complete with tattoos, if you've seen her, which vandalizes the Odyssey to take away the patriarchal aspects of that story. And, you'll say this, there's the usual woke idiots that praised it. But to be fair, there are a lot of people in the literary community saying this is pure garbage. pure garbage. I mean, it's not like there aren't a lot of good translations out there already of Homer. And it supposedly they say, well, Nolan had to do it to DEI the production to meet the criteria of the Oscar. But you know what? It's all about, are you going to make money on the feature? The Oscar might come later, but to aim for the Oscar, especially now with these absurd things they have to do. But here's my point. They're still doing it. It doesn't matter how bad it is. And instead of changing their ways, they're attacking the fans. And it's a direct analogy to the Democrats. Hey, maybe we're getting beat up because people are tired of this crap. But no, they keep doubling, tripling down.
It's it's an interesting thing that they're so calcified and locked into a philosophy, a worldview that is false and that's failed and that's not well regarded, and they continue to kind of mimic it. I mean, I think that makes you think of what's going on right now in England. In London, they had this huge rally of basically regular, normal, patriotic British people, right? Mothers and fathers with children, people going out waving the flag. And we're like, hey, we're going to hold on to our country. And the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, has labeled them all right-wing extremists. When you see the videos, these are not
the same. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, they're not right-wing extremists. But that might be, I mean, I suppose they're using the machinery of the old propaganda agitprop media and figuring that they'll carry that water for them. Or maybe they really believe this. I don't know. I mean, maybe they think, oh, these people must be right-wing extremists. Same thing, I suppose, with Hollywood. It's like they're going to continue to go down this very narrow path philosophically and just have nothing but contempt and hatred for just average, normal, mainstream people who aren't on board with them. I mean, it's and if they do, they're going to lose big time, unless they pull something nasty off. I don't know what it might be.
I don't really think they have anything to pull.
Yeah, they'll detonate a nuclear bomb. I don't know. Who knows what they might do?
But there's no talent. There's no bullpen. There's no bench. I mean, again, let's go back to LA. Somebody is running for mayor who was the incumbent when half the city burned down. Try to understand that.
And even if it
weren't, even if it weren't her fault, and much of it is, you'd think, hey, you know what? I screwed up. They're going to tar and feather me. I better get out of here. But no. That's how screwed up the politics are. Although, other people come in. So,
I mean, are liberals in Los Angeles aware of this? At least, is there an inkling? Is there like some shred of consciousness in their entire beings?
Not as much as you think. I mean, I go back to the same cliche, but it hasn't changed a bit. Many of your viewers remember a film critic for the New Yorker named Pauline Kael. And during the election between Richard Nixon and George McGovern, which was the greatest landslide, I believe, ever, Pauline Kael was actually quoted as saying, "I'm totally surprised. I don't know anyone who voted for Nixon."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. I mean, that's sort of where I can't believe. Who was the comedic author who wrote a book called "I Can't Believe I'm Sitting Next to a Republican"?
Yeah.
It's like, and the other phenomena going on is that the big cities that have elected these leftist mayors, like Seattle, for example, the companies are leaving. I mean, Boston, Massachusetts, we've major companies in this state have announced that they're relocating, including Cape Cod potato chips. I mean, how much more Massachusetts can you get than that?
Wow.
They're going to I think a southern state. Um, I think in the
Are
case
they
of
still going to
Seattle,
call it Cape Cod? Wow.
the
Maybe
what?
Cape Fear. They'll change the name to Cape Fear.
Keep everything the same, but they're not going to be on Cape Cod anymore. I
Yeah,
mean, I think
right.
in Seattle, didn't the mayor call for boycotting Starbucks? I mean,
Yeah.
Starbucks is one of the biggest companies in that state. It's headquartered in Seattle.
Well,
Now
that's
they
a
will,
total institution. I mean, the whole idea of Starbucks coffee and the fact that in the miserable, awful climate of Seattle, where it rains essentially every day, uh, and you have this gloomy weather, and people have this nice hot cup of coffee, it's an institution.
right,
Starbucks by no means was the first, but it became the
became
new
huge.
brand.
Yeah.
So to turn against the very symbol of your town, besides the Space Needle, good grief.
Yeah, now they're moving to Nashville, and they're
Yeah.
taking about 3,000 employees with them, and it's going to be a huge. New York, Mamdani shows up at this guy's house, is this hedge fund guy, and he does this insulting video where he knocks on the window, and it's bizarre actually.
Yeah.
You may have seen it. He's not leaving. I mean, they're all leaving New York. They're going to Texas and Florida. Isn't aren't people aware of that? That these people are driving away, revenue. How are they going to pay for their socialism?
Yeah, but here's the thing, Chuck. It's their fault. I mean, I'm telling you, if the stock exchange were to leave New York, it would still no, it's not us.
But an average, I mean, I can't imagine some average Brooklyn Italian guy believing that. I mean, you know what I mean? Or for that matter, a
But he's
black
not
guy.
in power. He's not the elite. Okay. If you're some Upper East Side uh, inherited wealth individual, this
Yeah, but I
this is
mean,
the way it always is.
but they don't have the numbers. I mean, they live in this bubble, as you say, in the Upper East Side and the Upper West Side. But that's not the Bronx. They might have their allies who are people on the dole, but even then, right?
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
but of course the problem is then you're what's his name used to call toe tag Democrats. You could go into the Bronx and Brooklyn and talk to the normies. Well, I'm a Democrat. My grandfather was a Democrat. My great grandfather was a Democrat, and they're never going to change.
no, I know people like that. My own
Yeah,
family has people like that. Um, but even when Trump was getting one of his lawfare cases, one of these ridiculous uh, situations where they took what was at best a campaign misdemeanor. Normally, you'd get a fine, and even then, who knows whether or not it was true.
yeah.
And they put him on trial. They split it up into 30. They turned it into a felony. They split it into 37 pieces, and they got 37 convictions. During one of the breaks in that trial, Trump brilliantly he went up to the Bronx and black neighborhood, south side, and he was mobbed by people supporting him, and it was an amazing thing to see. And I think he did well, particularly among black men, so and Hispanics. They're excited about the arrest of Maduro, the impending fall of communist Cuba. Who would have ever thought? I mean, these are incredible things. I think that Trump is doing. He's moving toward on a foreign, to talk about globally. The Cuba is about to fall. It probably will fall within the next month. Iran is about to capitulate, from what I've seen. They're going to come to some deal where they're going to agree to not have nuclear bombs and to allow their uranium, what's left of it under rubble, to be excavated and removed from Iran. And that's going to be a huge victory. And he's reordering the entire. I mean, in a way, it's what worries me also. but he's reordering the whole Anglo-American liberal left world order that has ruled this country, frankly, and much of the world since the turn of the last century.
Yeah.
And which worries me because I worry for him. I pray for his safety. But I think that Trump and his cabinet, I think, are fully aware of this. It's not just him. I've heard comments from Vance, from Rubio, certainly Hegseth. I mean, all of these people. This new attorney general is great, Van. What was Todd Blanche? He just was an interview where he said we're going to be coming down with some convictions or some charges very soon against people who stole the 2020 election and the Russia hoax. And he means business. I mean, they've been working on it. It's not like it was pointed out. This isn't like with Biden where they went after enemies and a lot of that stuff got thrown out. They're doing it very carefully. They're really taking the time to make sure that everything is absolutely airtight.
But as a student of history, let's say they have successful prosecutions against the 2020 voter fraud people. Let's say it even goes as far as for people to realize, hey, you know what? That election was stolen.
Right.
Now, how does that comport with quote unquote American history?
Well, I mean, it's going, I don't know. I mean, American historians may decide to ignore this. I mean, for example, recently this testimony against Anthony Fauci was completely ignored by the mainstream media.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, justice is moving forward. It will result in reforms. It could result in some convictions, which would certainly feel good. But I don't even, that's great. But the important thing is that there's going to be some reforms put in place. The voting machines are going to finally be looked at. Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts was shrieking and screaming about the corrupt voting machines before somebody whispered in her ear and said, hey, we control them now. And then she started to attack anybody.
So what you're saying, it's going to be more known for the reforms so that when it finally becomes mainstream, that the pandemic was, all fake, that the vaccine was crap and so on. Not so much that people are going to tear out their hair and wail and moan about it as much as now people are going to think twice before they listen to every pronouncement of the CDC, WHO, and so on. Maybe
it's already happening. Aren't they trying to pull out another pandemic with the Hunter virus?
Yeah.
I don't think it's working. People aren't buying it. And who knows? I mean, what else? They might come with something more dangerous. I don't know. But it's quite clear that, as we've been saying for 5 years, that thing was released out of a lab in Wuhan, China.
Yeah.
Even the New York Times admits that now. Well after the fact, that it was an artificial. You can look at it in terms of the makeup of it, the DNA of it, or the RNA of it. And
so why should they get any accolades for coming to the table 5 years after the fact? Why shouldn't they be condemned?
Well, who's giving them accolades? All of a sudden, they'll have discovered the truth and they're getting praise.
Well, no, I mean, maybe even in their own mind, that somehow it's okay to be a yutz for 5 years. And then when I wake up and understand what's going on, then it's real. I've always hated that. I've worked with people like that. All right. Now that
it's so privileged, all of a sudden you should thank me for being, for doing this. I've come to a revelation. Whoa.
Yeah. And it just does not work for me.
No, that's like Jake Tapper with the book about Biden's senility.
Oh yeah.
Right, as if they didn't know, and all of a sudden, oh well, You know. Meanwhile, we now know. I think there's now evidence that none other than good old Elizabeth Warren was the hand on the auto pen. I mean,
Really?
apparently, yeah. It's a little article about this. Not, I can't confirm that, but she had a big hand in it. She also had a hand in destroying the merger between JetBlue and Spirit Airlines. She was,
I think
and
that's
then
quite a
that.
bit of credibility for that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of video of her. I mean, even the Biden people were not against the merger, and the unions were on board. Everybody was on board, but she suddenly marches in. It's a typical, and they can't do this because they're going to raise prices. It's just some cockamamie excuse. And she was actually able to convince the Biden DOJ to file a lawsuit, and then it was heard by a federal judge. I'm not going to mention who because I just don't want to, but who ruled in favor of preventing the merger. And now it's gone. They've gone under. They were going under then. So this kind of idiocy is coming home to roost in many ways.
Well, what is the secret to the success of Liz Warren anyway? Okay, she's a total phony. It came out, of course, that she's not Native American.
Right.
But there's something about truth when it comes to liberal women that it doesn't matter.
I mean,
the classic, Buffy St. Marie.
Complete
right?
phony. Not Native American.
But okay, but what's worse about it is there were people that knew about it all along, and for some reason kept quiet. All right.
Oh man, yeah. I know that was a really good one. And she made a whole career. She'd go up on stage with the beads and the fake, the leather fringes,
Yeah.
and she had a whole victimized narrative. The FBI is going after me because I'm Native American. Well, I mean, I don't know with Elizabeth Warren. I mean, she's such a miserable, unlikable person. I don't get it. I mean, I've been in her presence a few times, and she is horrendous, just nasty with that kind of. I mean, it's a classic persona of a leftist with that sneer and that ashen look of righteousness that she knows. Oh, the way she talks. Oh, it's you can't listen to it. It's so awful.
Yeah.
And yet, she has a lock on the state. She has the same luck that Kennedy had. I mean, Kennedy at least had a name. I don't know where she got off, but somehow, she's in for life. And so is Ed Markey, who is not as well known, but another one of these liberal guys. And his opponent, this Seth Moulton, he's like a local left-wing Democrat, is just absolutely horrendous. He's a piece of human excrement. He's worse than Markey. Horrible man. No, he's just bad. He's just.
But is he as unctuous as Markey? Dripping all this self-righteous crap.
No, he's not. He runs on the fact that he's a veteran, and that's fine. I honor that. But I'm a new kind of Democrat. But he went after Trump for being involved with Jeffrey Epstein, this kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
And just then he brings to the State of the Union this guy who's an illegal alien to try to make a case. You get to bring a guest, and it was shortly after that the guy was convicted of sexually molesting people. It's just the guy's a complete embarrassment. Awful man. I mean, as bad as Markey is, I'd rather see Markey in there.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's just bad news. And there's a couple of them on the Democrat side that are like that. This guy in Maine, I can't imagine him doing all that well. Plattner, he's got Nazi swastikas tattooed on his chest. He's a far left revolutionary communist. and he could win there. He's running against Susan Collins, who's not my cup of tea, but you got to support her against him.
I'll tell you, Chuck, I have never understood the politics in Maine, ever.
Oh, it's
It makes
Maine.
no sense.
Portland, Maine is like, it's just a sick. It's mentally deranged. I don't know what the hell is the matter up there. Even Massachusetts liberals, are aghast. There's something in the water. I mean, I guess that it goes to, I suppose, collective. There's a word for this in sociology. What is it? Collective effervescence, something like that. I'll have to look into it. Where people just embrace something that's really rotten, and they become immersed in it, and it just becomes who they are.
Yep.
So that's who the Democrats have. I don't see any normal. The only normal Democrat out there is Federer from Pennsylvania.
And he may change parties any day.
Oh, that would be great.
But
that's about it. I mean, the rest of them are just a rotten group of criminals like Adam Schiff, or their ideologues like AOC, and their leader is Schumer. I mean, God, how dreadful can you be? I don't see how they're going to pull it off unless, and of course they want to work the angle of cheating and of getting as many illegal aliens to vote for them as possible, but that's not going to work because Trump is all over that. He can't get that snake Thune to pass the ID, but there are ways around that.
Well, I mean, I think the greatest coup would be to convince the illegals to vote Republican.
That's a waste. That's an exercise in futility because they know what side the bread is buttered on. Massachusetts spent how many billions of dollars giving them 3 meals a day and a nice hotel room. I mean, the state is going bankrupt. Even Healy had to back away from that eventually. But it's interesting here in Massachusetts. We had an incident actually last week where this guy opened fire in Cambridge on Memorial Drive. I don't know if you saw that.
I think I heard about that.
Yeah, he just opened fire. He had a machine gun. He started shooting people. And a couple of courageous people tackled him and stopped him. And it turned out that he had a similar incident 5 years ago where he started shooting at cops. He had a long record of real violent crime. And a state judge reduced his sentence, right? That's why he was there. And so you have now Healy, the governor, and for the former district attorney who resigned in disgrace, Rachel Rollins, who wants to run again, and other left-wing Massachusetts politicians. They're all taking this opportunity to condemn that judge. Oh, they can seem tough on crime. They didn't say anything at the time. I always love the way they do this. It's like this is a great chance for them to, get behind it. But people are going to think.
Where were you back then?
Yeah, I mean, we're not supposed to believe that they're tough on crime. I mean, she let him out early. This is a violent criminal, and he immediately went out. He started killing people. What do you think? It's like, he didn't kill anybody, but a couple of people were shot, and it was just a horrendous incident. I hope people don't forget it. So that's where the Democratic Party is, I think. I don't see any. I think you have Republicans now coming up and challenging them. Ned Lamont, who's I think he's either the son or the grandson of one of the architects of the Humanist Manifesto, a very left-wing thinker in the early 20th century. He's got a challenge from the Republicans. They seem to be shaping up, and I think that this recent election with the abysmal showing for Cassidy in Louisiana, that's sending a message, I think, to all the state parties and all of the city parties that the rhinos aren't going to make it this time.
Well, they were tolerated for too long.
Right.
In that if you have an R by your name, that's okay. The problem was when you were in a deep red state like Louisiana or Texas, somebody could be a total schmuck, call himself a Republican, and in case of a guy like Cassidy, he just tread on that. All right. It's one thing to be a rhino, but then to be anti-Trump, to be a total pawn of pharma like this guy was unbelievable. You know,
He
you're
voted
going
for Trump's second
in
impeachment.
yeah.
I mean, just really, I mean, I think that literally what happens is you get states which are, you know, what we call red now, that they're going to elect Republicans. So you get a Democrat registering as a Republican and running as a Republican and winning. And then, you know, then they completely turn on it. It's that simple. And
Well, I mean, the good news, when not only did Cassidy lose, he was 3 out of 3, third out of 3.
That was a terrible disgrace. Yeah, an utter collapse of his entire thing. And then you get Mitt Romney coming up and praising him. He's been out of office. He didn't even want to run again. I don't know if these people are like.
Well, some of them are true believers of this so-called Rockefeller Republican.
Yeah,
but they haven't, you know, done their homework. These guys always end up going bad. All of them. I mean, maybe not as spectacularly as Nelson Rockefeller, but look at what happened to Romney. And it, you know, I think the only guy that sort of got off without any public disgrace, as far as I know, was Jake Javits. I think he knew when to stop, but
right. But he was a rhino. You know, he's a liberal.
Well, he was a rhino.
Republican.
He was a rhino before that term even existed.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the original rhino was probably your buddy, Wendell Willkie.
Oh yeah, well sure. I mean, One World was his book.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, exactly. And he was put up to do it by the
FDR.
You know, but yeah, probably as like kind of a straw. So yeah, I mean, I think that that's being exposed now. I think that the Trump candidates are winning. We'll see what happens to Massey in Kentucky. I think Trump might take a little setback on that one because I think he's popular. Hopefully not. I hope he loses, but we'll see. If he does win,
Kentucky's always weird because McConnell got reelected, and then with Trump's help, and then just turned on him.
Yeah. I don't know what the deal is with that. It's very ugly. It's very personal. I mean, certainly in the case of Mitt Romney, it was just sour grapes.
Yeah.
And same thing with McCain. You know, they couldn't do what Trump did.
Oh, McCain was the worst.
Oh yeah. And I kind of get it as a former politician. You know, you see how Trump handles things and you feel like, gee, I wish that Trump had been around when I was running because I would have been different. He really has recast how things are done. And in the case of someone like a Romney or a McCain, they're bitter because they got up to a very high level. I mean, they were the nominee and lost when they should have won. Because
right, but it was bad faith on both parts, and more so McCain, who was the sole Republican vote that passed Obamacare.
Yeah, and he did it just out of spite.
Out of spite, no.
He didn't want Trump to have a victory. I mean, and there's a lot of that. Paul Ryan is about all about that.
Paul Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that is just driven by personal envy and spite. I really think that plays a much bigger role in politics than people realize. These are very powerful emotions. They blew it, and they're looking back with regret, and then they see Trump come along and he completely changes the mold. They're going to be footnotes in history, if anything.
Well, I have no sympathy for Ryan. He was the speaker. He could have done something. He didn't do a damn thing.
But he was playing by those same old rules. He wanted to get ingratiated with the liberal media so he could get his big fat face on television and get interviewed. And, you know, it's very alluring. And you don't want to be attacked by them. He couldn't stand the heat that Trump goes through all the time, because you just don't want that. And so they play ball. Look, I can speak to this. When I ran, I mean, you had people whispering in my ear, "Don't say this. You'll piss off this group or that group," or "This is how you handle the Boston Globe. You have to say this and not that." Trump doesn't play that game. He doesn't give a damn. I mean, the media hates him anyway. Yeah, they hate him anyway, but he doesn't care. He kind of
Could you have
thrives.
won? Could you have won if you had been tougher?
If I had been like Trump, I wonder. I wonder. I was tough, but I was not as tough as I might have been had I seen it. Had I had like an example like Trump. There was nobody like that back then.
Right.
Mitt Romney was governor of Massachusetts. Talk about, like a milquetoast, middle of the road, gets along with everyone, sits around, listens to the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. I mean, it's just, he didn't want to have any criticism. And, it's just that's how the game was played. And I wish, I mean, if I had had Trump as a mentor, I wouldn't have paid any attention. I wouldn't have listened to any of that. And I didn't listen to a lot of it, but I also did listen to much of it. I mean, I think that I've mentioned that, not that I would do any different, but I was handed a dossier on my opponent, Bonnie Frank, of very credible evidence in a lot of areas about him. And it was really vile stuff. And they wanted me to go out with it. And I considered it, and I decided not to. Not only did I decide not to, but I destroyed it. I burned it. And, in retrospect, if I had gone out with it, I would have hurt myself a lot more than him because of the state. I probably could have been killed for that. I would have been put, as it is, they tried to put me in prison. And there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that I'm never going to talk about with that campaign.
Well, was there a way you could have sort of had your favorite expression, limited hangout? You're going to drop some of that stuff.
I don't know. Maybe. It was very explosive, and it was very true, and it was very well researched. And this guy who had it, the dossier, who met me in a secret setting, he had been trying to get someone to release it and couldn't. And he thought maybe I would. He gave it to me. And I said I'd consider it, but.
So he had a particular agenda over a number of years, I guess.
Yeah, and he was kind of, I don't even want to mention who he was, but he was into, intelligence and, he's a criminologist. He kind of knew a lot of stuff.
Right.
Was into a little bit of, I guess you might say, domestic spying. And I don't think it's wrong to say that, because there are groups in Washington and even in states which candidates hire. I was asked to hire them. I didn't, but who will do that? They'll spy on the opponent. They'll follow them. They'll take pictures. They'll dig. They'll go into research. And so he got his information from people who did know what they were talking about, and it was documentable. But look, I mean, that's what the FBI used. I don't know if they're not doing it now, but that's what J. Edgar Hoover used to do. He built a dossier on people. I've heard stories about that he would go up to the White House when LBJ was president, and they would sit around he'd bring all these manila folders and they would go through them, and they'd be there laughing hysterically, and they, oh, look at so-and-so,
Yeah.
And then, Johnson would have this congressman in the White House, and he'd say, I want you to support me on this bill. And he'd kind of leave the manila envelope on the table. He goes, you wouldn't want to see this be public, right? And the guy's like, ah. But so he would get stuff done. I mean, they say that he was a great leader in terms of getting legislation done. Well, yeah, I mean, it's called blackmail.
Well, it was Johnson who said, if you got to buy the balls, their hearts and minds will follow. So.
And that's exactly how he played ball. But anyway, I don't know how I got in that subject, but I just, as Trump is on such an incredible winning streak right now,
Yeah.
I just worry that of what they might be capable of doing. They are not going to sit back. And if Trump loses, if the Republicans take back the House, he'll be
The
impeached.
Democrat.
And they've admitted that. And they're going to go after their list of enemies. And they're going to do, it'll be much worse, I think, than even under the Biden regime. People will be debanked. They'll be cut out of the media. They'll be jailed. All of it. I've seen some of this from the other side. And it's scary stuff. It really is. And, I mean, personally, but also as an American and as someone who believes in freedom, I don't want to see them get the upper hand in this election.
They have to be beaten badly.
Yeah.
And it would be a great, anti-precedent, right? I mean, traditionally, the party in power loses the midterms, but for the Republicans to prevail would be amazing. And then they get, it's sort of a shot in the arm that, hey, we're really going to go full steam ahead.
You bet. And it does look right now, I mean, again, it's still early. The summer's not even here yet. But it does look like they are going to prevail. I don't know if it's going to be a landslide or even a mandate. It doesn't matter. The point is, as long as they have one congressman or two, hopefully at least, they'll have the majority.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to look at. And that might include, and I would say this to anyone in this country, voting for a Republican who is a rhino if they're still in there, if that's the only choice, because it keeps the majority and it allows for the more MAGA Republicans to then take the reins and at least have some say. So because of the situation, it really has to be seen as an all hands on deck. You have to vote Republican. That's all. So the Republicans retain control of the House. And I would say that to people who are registered Democrats who are not like true believers. This time around, you have to vote Republican if you want to preserve our system. I mean, if you don't want to see the whole country just go toward putting people in prison and impeachments and everything else. And I think that even a large number of Democrats and certainly independents, they're not these true believers. They're not these hardcore people.
Well, as you say, it's about 25 to 30% true believers.
Yeah.
Okay, Javier Becerra, who's probably the leading Democrat candidate for governor in California, is actually running on the fact that he was a big architect of Obamacare. And you wonder, I mean, that's been a total failure. No one disputes that. But yet, I guess for a dyed-in-the-wool liberal, that's some sort of article of faith, I guess.
How's he doing? Is he showing up in the polls or?
Well, he's leading the Democrats, but
now that Swalwell's out, right?
Yeah, but that's not saying much. You've got almost 30 Democratic candidates. It's ridiculous. You'd think they'd at least have the power to knock some of them out, but they're not doing it.
Well, they're all very confident that it's going to be a Democrat state and a Democrat, and maybe they know something that, well, you kind of know in terms of how the elections are run in that state. They're
I
confident.
think they may be in for a surprise. I mean, right now, the two leading candidates with the primary system are Republican. So it would be really beautiful if it's between Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco in the general.
Yes.
I mean, their heads would explode.
Oh my God! So the primary is coming up in September.
June 2nd.
June 2nd. Oh, good. Okay, it's coming up soon. Well, we'll see. Yeah. God willing. Anyways, what do you have coming up in the Substack?
Okay. Well, I was thinking of writing about the cultural vandalism of the Odyssey. Give you some detail about that. When I first heard about this last week, some of this was just sort of a rumor. You can't really have Elliot Page playing Achilles. I mean, but yeah, I mean, and first of all, Achilles is a minor role in the Odyssey because, as your readers and viewers know, he's in the underworld at that point. He's dead. But having a Black Helen of Troy, it's just everything, just a huge FU to tradition. And it's going to be.
Was it like with Anthony and Cleopatra or something? They had a black Cleopatra, and Cleopatra was Greek.
She was Greek, so it showed total ignorance.
Yes.
I mean, I suppose you can make an absurdly stupid argument that if she were Egyptian, well, Egypt's in Africa, so black, maybe. But of course that was never the case anyway, but she was Greek.
Exactly. Okay. This is the Greek regime.
And of course they got reamed for that. It was condemned, but this is taking it even farther. And then the excuse now is that, well, it's a reimagining. After all, it's a myth. Well, some of it is a myth, but there really was a Trojan War.
Right.
So
on top of it, I understand it's a crappy movie. I mean, so.
Yeah.
So it's probably, maybe they'll blame it on that. I don't know.
Yeah, they're going to blame the fans. It's the toxic fans.
That's right. That's what they do. Everybody's a right-wing extremist. So anyway, Mike, but as always, thanks for joining me. The Substack is listed on this site.
And I noticed that you're in a more positive frame of mind. You don't have that gloom and doom completely.
No, I mean the news. Look, Trump keeps hitting it out of the ballpark. It's just I'm feeling better and stronger every day. It's like as I've said, it's like every day is Christmas morning.
Well, that's saying a lot because I mean you were Mr. Downer, before the election. So.
Oh my God! I mean, just before the election, I was literally sick. I couldn't even practically move. I felt ill. Just because I know what they do and I know how that can happen. I remember I had like a back and forth argument with Steve Turley, who does a very good podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
Because he's like always. I said, "Look, are you engaging in happy talk?" He's like, "Oh, Trump is going to win easy." I'm like, I get it, and I'm with you. I like listening to this because it makes me feel better, but. What about what the Democrats might do? Anyway.
Well, part of his appeal is that he's always positive. I think between you and me, too much so.
I agree.
People like that kind of content, and he's done very well with it. It's not that he's unrealistic. It's that, you can't go out there for your football team.
No.
We're going to be 18-0 every year. Maybe not. So
well, that's like with Dick Morris during the election, the 2004 election, constantly talking about how Mitt Romney was going to beat Obama, right up to the day. He's going to do it, and then when it didn't happen, his credibility was blown to shreds.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but so I'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good.